The house hadn't changed. Same white shutters, same hedges clipped into unnatural perfection, same path leading to the porch where I once scraped my knees and screamed until someone pretended to care. I sat in the car for a moment, staring at the front door like it might lunge at me. Jason's birthday banner hung just above it, Happy 30th, as if time had moved forward for everyone but me. I inhaled once, deep and steady. Then I stepped out. Inside, the noise hit me first, glass clinking, laughter that felt too shiny, voices brushing past each other. I crossed the threshold, and just like that, the air shifted. Conversations dropped a decibel. Heads turned, then quickly turned away. I felt it like static on skin, judgment disguised as politeness. "There she is," someone murmured behind a wine glass. "Is she doing better now?" someone else whispered. I smiled. Not at them, but at myself. Because this time, I heard it all, and I didn't shrink. "Olivia," my mother said. "Evelyn. Always Evelyn in my head now. Never Mom." She walked toward me with the kind of grace that only came from decades of pretending. "You made it." "I did," I said. No hug, just words. She blinked once. "Well, this night is about Jason. Let's keep it peaceful." There. It was. Not even 2 minutes in, and already the warning, the coded threat. Behave. I didn't answer. I just walked past her. Jason was near the fireplace, grinning like always. He looked surprised to see me, but not disappointed. "Liv, you actually came." He hugged me warm and quick. The one person who never said I was crazy, just silent when I needed him loud. "I wouldn't miss it," I said. And I meant it, just not for the reason he thought. As the night went on, I drifted through rooms like a ghost, no one knew what to do with. People nodded, smiled, offered surface-level small talk. But I saw the edge in their eyes, the caution. "She looks normal now," someone muttered near the appetizer table. I laughed under my breath. Now. As if I ever wasn't. I walked, past the stairs, the same ones I once sat on at 16, crying, when they handed me a diagnosis and called it love. Past the kitchen, where Evelyn told me to stop performing. Past the hallway where my father stood while she screamed at me, his silence louder than anything. But I wasn't that girl anymore. In my purse was a small black Bluetooth speaker. Fully charged, preloaded, ready. I touched it briefly, like a secret. Not yet. Jason's candles weren't even lit, but soon, because they called me crazy, and tonight, I was going to let them hear what crazy really sounded like. I wasn't always quiet. There was a time, years ago, when I screamed to be heard. When I told anyone who would listen that something wasn't right in our house, that my mother twisted things, turned every moment inside out until even I questioned what was real. But no one listened. When I was 15, I told the school counselor that my mom lied constantly, that she would scream at me for things I hadn't done, then swear the next day she never raised her voice. That she would call me ungrateful, dramatic, manipulative, anytime I asked why things felt wrong. The counselor called home. 2 days later, I was sitting in a cold, floral-patterned office, across from a psychiatrist Evelyn chose. I remember her voice clearly. "She's been emotional, overwhelmed, possibly depressive." The doctor didn't ask many questions, just nodded, took notes, prescribed pills. "Emotional instability," he wrote in my file. It stuck like glue. From that moment on, everything I said became a symptom. Every tear, every panic, every protest, it wasn't valid, it was proof. Proof that I was broken, and eventually, I believed it. That's the real trick of gaslighting. It's not the yelling, it's not even the lies, it's the erosion. One memory at a time, one manipulated story after another until you wake up and don't trust your own thoughts. I stopped talking, I took the pills, I smiled in family photos, and stopped journaling, because I couldn't tell anymore if I was telling the truth. Years passed. I moved away, changed cities, changed names in my phone, blocked half my family. But even far from them, I carried their voices inside me. "You're too sensitive. You make things up. No one else sees what you see, Olivia. I lived like that until last fall. Until the therapist I'd been seeing, a calm, soft-voiced woman named Dana, asked a simple question. What's something you loved as a teenager before all this? The answer slipped out before I could think. Recording things, I said. I used to pretend I had a podcast. I'd narrate my day, interview myself, my brother, even random noises in the house. Dana smiled. That's beautiful. Do you still have those recordings? My breath caught. I hadn't thought about those tapes in years. I remembered carrying a little black recorder everywhere, sneaking it into my pocket, clicking it on when Mom started ranting, when Dad stayed quiet. I told myself it was for fun. But now, looking back, maybe I knew. Even then. That night, I tore through boxes in my apartment. Nothing. 2 weeks later, I called Evelyn, said I needed to stop by and get some old things from the attic. Try not to dig up the past, she said flatly, but I was already holding the shovel. And when I found that little recorder, dusty, dented, but intact, I held it like a time capsule. I brought it home, replaced the batteries, pressed play. The voice that came through was mine. Young, nervous, hesitant, and then hers. Tell her it didn't happen. She'll believe it if we're all consistent. I dropped the recorder. My heart nearly stopped. For years, I'd wondered if I'd imagined that night, if I'd invented it like they said, but there it was. Her voice. The truth. Caught in plastic and static. I wasn't crazy. They just made sure I forgot who I was. I told Evelyn I needed to stop by and grab a few old things from the attic. Yearbooks, maybe some books from college. She didn't ask why. She rarely did. Just waved me off with her usual disinterest, muttering something like, just don't. Leave a mess. The truth? I didn't care about the books. I was looking for one thing. Something I hadn't seen since I was 15, but couldn't stop thinking about since my therapy session with Dana. The attic door groaned when I pulled it down. Same old metal ladder, same faint smell of cedar and dust. I climbed slowly, each step feeling like I was walking backward through time. Up there, everything was frozen. Stacks of boxes, Christmas decorations, broken lamps, our family history sealed in cardboard and tape. It was suffocating. I started digging. A box labeled Toys, another marked Olivia, School. I opened it. Just papers, old math tests, a trophy, for most improved. And then, under a pile of cassette tapes and dried-out pens, I saw it. A tin lunchbox with a sticker half peeled off the lid. My handwriting scrawled across the front in blue Sharpie. Podcast experiments. My fingers trembled as I opened it. Inside, a tangle of old earbuds, 2 AA batteries that had long since died, and there it was. The recorder, small, black, a little dented on one side, the red rec button worn smooth. I held it like it was something sacred. Back in my apartment, I sat on the floor with the blinds drawn and the lights low. I inserted fresh batteries, pressed play. The tape clicked to life with a soft hiss of static. At first, it was innocent. Silly. My voice, young, high-pitched, pretending to host a talk show. Welcome to Olivia Hour. Today we interview Jason, a boy who never does his chores. Jason giggled in the background. Then came pretend weather reports, fake commercials, the kind of harmless daydreaming only a lonely kid could invent. I smiled, for a second, then suddenly the tone shifted. There was a loud bang. A door slamming, then my own voice, shaky, breathless. She's yelling again. And then Evelyn, my mother. Tell her it didn't happen. If she hears it enough, she'll believe it. I froze. I rewound. Played it again. Tell her it didn't happen. It was her. Not just her voice, but her plan. The manipulation, spoken aloud, every doubt I'd carried, every blank spot in my memory, it made sense now. I wasn't unstable. I wasn't overreacting. They had trained me to forget, but 15-year-old me had known better. She left behind a trail, not in diaries or in therapy sessions, but in data, in sound, in proof. Proof I wasn't crazy. I sat there for what felt like hours, letting the past wash over me, one muffled recording at a time. They had rewritten my story, but I'd just found the original draft. I didn't sleep that night. The recordings kept circling in my head like ghosts, finally learning how to scream. My voice. Her voice. The spaces between them. They haunted me. Not because I doubted them, but because I finally didn't. By morning, I knew exactly what I had to do. I opened my editing software and loaded the files. The familiar interface flickered to life, waveforms pulsing like heartbeats. I'd spent years editing podcasts for strangers, polishing their narratives, tightening their truths. This time, I wasn't polishing. I was preserving. Every clip was time-stamped, every file carefully sorted. I trimmed the long silences, not to erase them, but to sharpen the impact. Silence, after all, was its own kind of evidence. My mother's voice emerged through the static like a judge in an empty courtroom. Just keep telling her it didn't happen. No one will believe her anyway. I didn't flinch. Not this time. I created a master file and labeled it Episode 0. For the family. This wasn't something I'd upload publicly. This was personal, intimate, a scalpel, not a megaphone. Each section had a title, short, sharp, deliberate. 12. Gaslight Training, 101. This is the moment I stopped trusting myself and started trusting her version of me instead. 17. 58. A father's silence. He doesn't say a word. And that silence carved deeper than her insults ever could. 30. 11. The rewrite begins. You can hear it. The exact second they started building a version of me I didn't recognize. And then, at the very top of the file, I recorded my own voice. Present day me. Calm. Unshaking. You told me I imagined everything. But I had the mic on. That line, it felt like closure. But also ignition. When I was done, I exported the episode in 3 formats. I uploaded a copy to the cloud, saved one to my phone, and burned another to a hidden USB drive I kept in my car's glove box. I wasn't going to let this vanish. Not again. Then came the speaker. A sleek little Bluetooth thing, matte black and discreet. I tested the sound quality twice, adjusted the volume, made sure it paired instantly with my phone. It fit easily in my purse, tucked next to my keys and a half-used tube of lipstick. No, one would notice it was there, but once it spoke, they'd all hear it. Jason's birthday party was in 3 days. Evelyn called to confirm I was still coming. Her voice was syrupy, the way it always got when she was preparing to perform for a crowd. Will you be bringing a guest? She asked. No, I replied, smiling to myself. But I wasn't coming alone. I was bringing the girl they tried to silence. The one they gaslit into silence, into sickness, into shame. And she was ready to speak. Not for pity, not for revenge, for truth. The night unfolded with a performance I knew too well. Evelyn, in her element, gliding from guest to guest in a tailored navy dress, laughing just loud enough, touching arms, flashing that impeccable smile she wore like armor. She was the mother. Everyone admired, elegant, composed, a woman who threw perfect parties with the kind of ease that made people jealous. Jason's birthday was no exception. There were balloons and twinkling lights, trays of hors d'oeuvres she didn't cook, a jazz playlist humming in the background, and glasses of champagne that never stayed empty. I stood near the corner, mostly invisible, watching the way she made. Sure, everyone felt seen. Everyone but me. Olivia, she said earlier when I arrived, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear like we were close. Try to be festive tonight, okay? I smiled. Of course. Jason, oblivious to the undercurrent, looked happy, genuinely happy. He moved through the room with his beer and his goofy grin, accepting hugs and slaps on the back. I waited. Waited through appetizers. Through small talk and speeches. Through the moment Evelyn held up a glass and toasted Jason for being her. Rock, her pride, her reason for holding it together all these years. The audacity made my blood simmer, and then the moment came. Jason stood by the cake, chocolate ganache, his favorite, with candles flickering and everyone surrounding him. Evelyn placed a hand on his shoulder like she owned the spotlight. I stepped forward. Before we sing, I said, raising my glass, I'd like to say a few words. The room quieted. Evelyn's smile faltered just a touch. I didn't look at her. I looked at Jason. Thank you all, I began, my voice steady, for being here tonight, for celebrating someone who deserves every bit of joy this life can offer. I paused. And thank you for helping me find my voice again. With that, I reached into my purse, pulled out the speaker, and tapped play. The room didn't understand at first. A moment of soft static. Then Evelyn's voice filled the space, unmistakably sharp. Tell her she's being dramatic. A ripple of confusion, then another clip. Me, years younger, crying. You said I was lying. Her reply. Then stop lying. A collective inhale swept through the crowd. I scanned the room. Some eyes widened. Others darted to Evelyn, who stood frozen beside Jason, her face slowly draining of color. Jason turned toward me, lips parted. Wait, that happened. More clips followed, words they'd all forgotten, moments they thought were buried. Evelyn's tone, her cold precision, her patterns, laid bare like audio fingerprints. Evelyn lunged forward, hand outstretched. Turn that off. But it was too late. The truth was already loose. Jason stepped between us, blocking her. Mom, he said quietly. What is this? Her voice cracked. She edited that. Olivia's always been... No, I said, meeting his eyes. I didn't change a single word, just pressed play, the speaker continued, but no one was listening anymore. The weight had already dropped. Jason stared at Evelyn, his jaw clenched. You told me she made it up. She did, Evelyn snapped. She was sick. She was 15, he snapped back. And that's your voice. That's you. Silence. Fell heavy. Some guests shuffled awkwardly. Others looked away. No one rushed to Evelyn's defense. She straightened her shoulders, trying to regain control. This is not the place. You made it the place, I said. When you told the world I was broken. When you made sure no one would believe me. I turned to Jason. I'm sorry it had to be tonight, but I couldn't carry it alone. Anymore. He looked at me for a long moment. Then he nodded. Evelyn stood rigid, trembling with fury. But the room had changed. I picked up the speaker, slid it back into my purse, and walked out without waiting for cake. Behind me, no one stopped me, and that, more than anything, told me they finally heard me. Jason didn't blow out the candles. He just stood there, his face washed in candlelight, frozen between the life he thought he lived and the one he'd just heard unraveling through a speaker the size of his palm. The guests shifted awkwardly, their chorus of Make-A-Wish dissolving into hushed murmurs. Evelyn stood beside him, her hand still raised from her failed attempt to shut me down, her fingers twitching in midair. Jason turned to me. Can we talk? I nodded, already stepping toward the door. Outside, the air was cool and clean, a relief, after the thick tension inside. We stood on the patio, lights glowing faintly above us, laughter from some distant neighbor drifting over the fence. I don't even know what to say, he muttered, rubbing the back of his neck. I always felt like something was wrong, but every time I asked, Mom would say I was imagining it, that you were unstable, that you liked attention. I said nothing. I wanted him to keep going. She used to tell me you made things up. To get out of trouble, I believed her. He paused. God, I believed her. His voice cracked on the last word. I looked at him. Not the golden boy, not the birthday prince, but just my brother. The kid who once slipped me a cookie under the table when I cried. The one I thought had forgotten me completely. I'm sorry, he whispered. I should have asked more. I should have seen it. And then, for the first time in nearly a decade, he hugged me. Not out of obligation, not politely. A real hug. Strong, warm, grounding. I'm so proud of you, he said into my shoulder. Inside, the party had shifted. Evelyn paced in tight circles by the gift table, wine glass clutched too tightly. Her perfect composure cracked now, pieces flaking off, with every passing second. People avoided her eyes. A few guests whispered, others grabbed their coats early. That's when Aunt Marianne approached me. She held something in her arms, an old, leather-bound journal, the corners soft from time. I knew, she said quietly, eyes shining. I knew something was off. I saw the way she talked to you, but no one believed me either. She looked, down at the journal. So I wrote everything. Every time I saw it, every time I stayed silent. She handed it to me. I should have spoken sooner, but I didn't. Until you did. I took it gently, my hands shaking more now than they had when I pressed play. From inside, I could still see Evelyn pacing, lips moving, but no one listening. Graham, my father, stood near the back wall, arms crossed, silent. But this time, his silence didn't protect her. For once, silence had chosen me. I didn't stay for the cake. While the others shifted uncomfortably around melting candles and untouched wine glasses, I picked up my purse, gave Jason one last nod, and walked out the front door. No one stopped me. No one asked where I was going or why I was leaving early. And that silence, so heavy for so long, felt like freedom now. Back home, I kicked off my shoes, sat at my desk, and opened my laptop. My fingers hovered over the keys for just a moment before I clicked record. This time, it wasn't a private archive. This time, I wasn't hiding. I titled the episode, Episode 1, They Said I Was Crazy, but I recorded the truth. It started exactly where it needed to. No introduction, no music, no theatrics. Just Evelyn's voice, preserved in cold, sharp clarity. Tell her she's being dramatic. Then another clip. And another. A chorus of gaslight and control, years condensed into minutes. But the last voice they heard, the one that would stay with them, was mine. They told me I was unstable, that I made things up, that I was broken. But I was never broken. I was erased, rewritten, and blamed for forgetting the story they tore apart. I thought I lost my mind. But what I really lost was their version of me. And I'm never taking it back. I hit publish. Not to go viral. Not to burn bridges. To plant a flag in the soil of my own memory. To say, I was here. I remember. And this time, I believe myself. The room was quiet. No clinking glasses, no forced toasts, no eyes watching for signs of instability. Just me. Whole. I slipped on a sweater, stepped outside. The street was empty. Autumn leaves chased each other down the sidewalk in gentle spirals. The air smelled like wood and wind and something softer I hadn't felt in years. Peace. For the first time in a long time, I smiled. Not for someone else's approval, not as armor, but because it was mine, my story, my voice. And this time, I was the one holding the mic.